Hello, and welcome to IR Theory.
Let's start things off with liberalism. Liberalism is rooted in idealism, aka a belief that a better world is possible with enough effort. As such, liberals also view people or humans as inherently good and think peace and harmony is not just achievable, but better yet desirable. And one of these few liberals is Immanuel Kant, who argued that values of liberalism promoted this peace and harmony. And he believed the more liberal states that existed, the more peaceful the entire world would become. And this is definitely more of an optimistic view, and it focuses on the idea that liberalism can lead to world peace. And speaking of peace, liberals have also built their ideals off the democratic peace theory, which is a theory that says democracies are less likely to go into conflict or war with each other. And a common misconception with this means that war will end globally due to this. But that's not what this means. Instead, this means that conflict between these democracies will lessen over time. And moving on to trade, liberalism sees trade as a means of peaceful interaction between states. And according to this, trade can lead to exchange of product, culture, ideas, and overall things that have benefit to both sides of an exchange. And this cooperation can lead to peace between nations and maybe start some good ties. And cooperation like this led to something like the League of Nations, and the League of Nations eventually developed into what is known now as the United Nations. Now, the League of Nations was created under many different ideas of liberalism and shares very similar principles. It was created as a way to create peace and create discussion between many nations. Sadly, it did fail to prevent the Second World War and became a very big challenge to the ideals of liberals. It contradicted beliefs that cooperation between nations would lead to everlasting peace. And sadly, because of these challenges, it struggled heavily to maintain its influence. This failure for the League of Nations to prevent the Second World War led to more theories to explain this war. One of these theories that were formed is realism.
Now, let's talk about realism. Like liberalists, realists view states as the dominant actors. But, unlike liberalists, realists view that people are inherently selfish, motivated by their own needs without accounting for the needs of others. This makes realism almost completely opposed to liberalism. Realists believe in zero-sum interactions, meaning any interaction where a rival state gains in a relative sense is a loss to your state, as it has made a competitor richer and potentially more powerful. Most importantly, however, realists view the world as being an international anarchy. Realists believe that in an anarchic system, it is simply impossible to completely trust another state. There is always the possibility that an ally will ignore international diplomacy and cooperation. It is important to note that anarchy, in this sense, does not refer to the layman's connotation of chaos. Realism's view of anarchy has three main parts. First, statism. States ultimately value sovereignty as the most important. Next, survival. Whatever needs to be done to ensure the security of the state against threats, actual or potential, is warranted, aka survive by any means necessary. And finally, self-help. After survival, states still maintain their own self-interest over others. Realism doesn't believe in the system level, meaning that all states must ultimately focus on themselves. The social condition between states also has no rulers or mediators, so relations depend entirely on the state's willingness or unwillingness to cooperate with each other. Ultimately, according to the realist position, liberals are far too naive about the potential for cooperation and how national interest undermines common interest.
The constructivist theory family exists between the two traditional theories of realism and liberalism. Constructivism highlights the idea of importance of values and individualism. Constructivism claims that concepts within international relations are socially constructed, and this includes politics, state sovereignty, and the absence of cosmocracy, defined as a world government with a single state or a policy. According to an article by Alexander Wendt, concepts within international relations are created due to an ongoing process of interaction and social process. Another important part of constructivism is their challenges to neo-realism. According to constructivists, the ideas of actors are governed by their identities and interests rather than the structure of the international system. Constructivism has developed based on the idea of individual power and highlights the importance of values. According to different sources, certain aspects of international relations are because of development of social processes. Now let's apply a theory to real life, realism. For context, there is an ongoing issue concerning the Iranian nuclear program. Allies to Iran, like Russia, argue that Iran is acting within their rights and within international law to have a peaceful atomic energy program. However, countries such as the United States and Israel are wary of allowing Iran nuclear capabilities. And Western officials fear that if Iran, despite its denials, were to acquire nuclear arms, it could threaten Israel and Gulf Arab oil producers and spark regional arms race.
This is a good example of realist beliefs. Allowing Iran to have a nuclear program, even a peaceful one, is a relative gain for the country. States like Israel view this as zero-sum, where a positive gain for Iran is a loss to them because they would be threatened by the possibility of Iran developing nuclear weapons in the future. As mentioned before, realists believe there are three main factors of anarchy. Here, Israel is exemplifying the idea of survival, attempting to ensure the survival of their state from actual or perceived threats using any means necessary. In this case, the means are preventing Iran from utilizing any kind of nuclear technology.
Similarly, the United States, Israel's close ally, is also demonstrating one of the three factors of anarchy: self-help. The United States, despite allying with Israel, is really acting in its own self-interest, and U.S. officials have also long maintained that America's relationship with Israel holds strategic value as a stabilizing force in the Middle East, and keeping at bay unrest that would threaten access to the regional oil supply on which America remains dependent.
We hope you enjoyed this quick summary of the optimistic, pessimistic, and middle ground theories. Remember, though, IR is a constantly changing subject. At the end of the day, things like liberalism, realism, and constructivism are just a theory. Thanks for watching.